Welcome to my garage! Hey guys, welcome to Quarantine SOL! We've been in quarantine now for 3 weeks, I think, right? Yep, so this is Megan, this is my wife.
Hi.
So in lieu of being able to film with Liza, we have a couple of separate videos that we're doing now, and I decided that I was going to brew some beer. I'm going to run through all of the steps here with you guys, and so you could possibly make it at home. First things first though, you have to make sure all of your equipment is clean. You really don't want anything in the beer that isn't supposed to be in the beer. So I store everything in my basement, which is why I make sure to clean it before I actually use it again. But I do clean it after every use. It's very important to keep everything as clean as possible. But everything after that touches the wort, so your fermentation unit, your hydrometer, anything like that, all has to be sanitized. And for that, I'm using Star San. So I'm gonna fill a 5-gallon bucket full of water and drop this in there, mix it around a little bit, and get to sanitizing. All right, so all the equipment is clean. We have our sanitization bucket over here with a bunch of essentials for after. Now we're gonna bring it into the garage and actually brew some beer. As you may be able to tell, we spend quite a bit of time down here. Megan does a lot of costume painting and everything, and we have this little setup here with a couch and a TV. Most of my equipment was actually purchased from a local brewery supply store, Blackstone Valley Brew Supplies. I highly recommend finding a local one to you. They have a lot of great experience. I found that going online and doing a lot of this stuff, not the best. Try and find somebody local to help you out. All right, that being said, let's get to brewing. All right guys, it is voiceover time because I screwed up the audio. All right, I'm gonna show off how to brew beer with extracts. First off, you need 5 to 6 gallons of water. You're gonna take 2 to 3 gallons of water, you're gonna throw them into a big pot, and you're gonna slowly bring that up to 150 degrees. From there, you wanna take a muslin bag, put in your grains, and steep them for about 20 minutes. After that 20 minutes is up, make sure to remove the grains and establish a low boil. That bag has a lot of good stuff in it. Let it drip out, do not squeeze it. Once you've hit that low boil, turn the heat way down, if not shut it off entirely, and start dissolving the extracts into the pot. Here I have a dry extract and a wet extract, I think. It's like a molasses. Once all the extracts are in there, you're gonna wanna go ahead and turn that heat back on, and you're gonna wanna start to get it back up to temperature. You want a full boil now. Once the boil starts, you're gonna wanna set a timer. Now the timer will depend on how and what you're brewing. Now I don't need to add anything else for 45 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and set a timer for 45 minutes and we're just gonna let it go. And just for shits and giggles, here's Kobe. All right, 45 minutes has gone by here, and now I'm gonna add the Irish moss and my wort chiller. This is for cooling down the wort as quickly as possible once it's finished. You can use an ice bath if you need to, if you don't have one of these. All right, after a couple of more minutes, I add my flavoring hops, and finally I have some aroma hops that I add right at the end. At 60 minutes, take the whole thing off the heat. Around the time you shut off the heat, you're gonna wanna proof your dry yeast. So proofing the dry yeast, you add about a cup or so of lukewarm water into a sterile glass. Sprinkle the yeast into the water, cover the glass with tin foil, let it stand for 10 to 15 minutes, which should be more than enough time for your brew to cool down. Here you can see my wort chiller in action. The temperature is going to fall very dramatically, but that's because this is sped up a little bit. Once you hit that magic number of around 70 degrees, you're gonna wanna strain out all of the solids that are in your beer. It's not entirely necessary to do this, but I wanted to try it, so we're gonna see how it turns out. Take the remaining couple gallons of water and fill up that bucket until you see it reach 5 gallons. Now that you have 5 gallons of wort, make sure your temperature is under 70 degrees and go ahead and add that yeast. All right, while we're here, I'm actually gonna make a cider too. So I have 5 gallons of store-bought apple cider. And what you really need to look for on the back here is to make sure that it's just apple juice, and you can have ascorbic acid, but that should be all you have inside of a cider. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour out all 5 gallons in here. Everything here is sanitized. It's all going through the Star San bath, both the funnel and the thing in here. You'll notice there's a little bit of foam inside of here. The foam is from the sanitizer, and it's actually okay for your brew. Give it a little bit more of a sugar content and add just some of the flavor of the maple syrup in there. So I think I'm gonna add probably about half the bottle here. Now that that's all set, I'm gonna go ahead and add the yeast. Yeah, you can actually ferment all of this inside of one of those bottles because they come cleaned already. But because we put it all in here, I had to make sure it was all sanitized first. So that's all set now. And now this can go in the fermentation unit. All right, so this is my fermentation unit. I have a temperature control gauge here. It's an old chest freezer, so it cools, and inside I have a non-LED light bulb. So it's an old school, I don't know, fluorescent, what do they call them? Incandescent bulbs, that's the word. That's covered in tin foil in here, all set together with this thermometer here, which tells the unit if it needs to be hotter or colder inside. So I'm going to take the beer we have here, and I'm gonna put the sanitized lid on top. Make sure it's really good on there. So we have this now. You wanna put a hand on this? Cool, okay. Now I'm gonna reach into out of the sanitation bucket. I have here my sanitized airlock. So what it does is it does not allow any oxygen in, but will let CO2 out. That gets shoved into this little hole in the bucket here. If you're wondering why I didn't take the gravity of this, which is a way to determine what the alcohol level is, it's because while I was cleaning, I broke my hydrometer. This is my second hydrometer. I'm sure I will go through a lot more by the time, I don't know, I die or something. I'm just gonna wait for the fermentation to end, and hopefully it's all in the right place. All right, so because of the way this is set up, I'm actually gonna flip things around a little bit. Instead of using the regular, oh my God, I said it earlier, why can't I remember things? Instead of using the regular airlock on here, because this lid comes so close to this, I'm actually going to use another style of airlock, which is essentially a sealed tube that's gonna go down into another small container of the sanitization liquid. And I'm gonna use the airlock on the cider. So let's go ahead and put all that together. Okay, yeah. I've gone ahead and I've pressed that in place. Now I'm going to grab the sanitizer fluid that's in the airlock here. I'm gonna press that into, right into there. Okay, so now this is sealed. Go ahead and drop that down into here. Now, inside that sanitization fluid as well, I have this nice long hose. All right, I'm gonna take one end of that hose and I'm gonna shove it into the nice hole that's here. Okay, and the other end is gonna go into a cup that I have placed down at the bottom. And that is going to allow this to close okay. Perfect, it's gonna allow it to keep temperature as of what I set it. And it's going to allow the air to escape but not go in. All right guys, so that's how I make beer. This is gonna sit in here for 2 weeks, but I will see you back next week, because next week I'm gonna show you my kegerator and how I get this thing carbonated and try it for the first time. Day 1 and you can already hear the bubbling.